Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Okay, we're gonna keep it going.
Elected, opposed to appointed, hired, promoted, judges, sheriffs etc., i.e. basically making these jobs depend on popularity and wealth, campaigning, rather than qualification, unaffordable university fees, education costs, i.e. no upward mobility for poor people, no mandatory, and for poor people free, health insurance, i.e. people literally dying of preventable diseases, minor injuries, easily treatable chronic illnesses etc. only for lack of money, people feeling offended by everything and everybody. This attitude, that everything that I don't like or agree with is an offense towards me personally, is nowhere else as bad as in America in my experience. Death penalty, literally lifelong imprisonment. Well, we do have this option here, but it's extremely rare in practice.
Controversial opinion about death penalty that I've always switched on and off. I am pro death penalty for a very restrictive pro death penalty. Like if someone raped and murdered someone, and the only problem I have with the death penalty is that what if the person was innocent, okay? And that would be worse. I'd rather there's a saying, I'd rather 100 criminals go free than one innocent man put to death, you know? And I believe that. But in cases where there's like a school shooter who just killed a bunch of kids and was caught on scene, all the evidence is with him, he was caught on scene red-handed, I think that person deserves the death penalty. Because the hesitance I have about death penalty is being unsure. There's no lack of assuredness that that person did it. So for horrific crimes or murders where you were caught in the act, there wasn't some like long investigation and forensic work that might really point this person 99% did it, give them a life sentence, right? But if you are the killer and you were caught, right, on scene, I don't have a problem with death penalty. I think that's deserved. But this is one of my opinions politically. I do swap on and off on, so.
The whole prison and probation system in general, sugar in everything, even the most basic foods. I was shocked how sweet everything is overseas, even stuff that's not supposed to be sweet. From a European perspective, like most bread or even some vinegars, and the locals don't even notice it. They'll tell you it doesn't taste sweet, while for a European it's like candy. The food in general is overall pretty bad. There are of course exceptions. I'm speaking generally and about the normal food that the average person has on their plate. Not just the sugar but all the other stuff that must be in it too. A loaf of bread should not have a shelf life of 2 weeks. Lawsuits. Of course you can sue in Europe but the system is different, so we don't sue each other at the drop of a hat. I always thought it was weird how rarely Americans sue each other until it dawned on me that a payout might be the only way they can pay for treatment after an accident or something.
This ties back to what was said much earlier in the first part of the video that I watched, where it was like Americans just like don't seem to care about each other as a community as much as other countries. And it's just like the idea of like, I don't care about this person. I want my money. Give it to me, you know? And that's another big problem. Of course, some things do deserve to be sued for, but it is used way too often.
Answers are things like healthcare, but goddamn I'm so glad we're generally far less religious. I do understand and respect that for a lot of people religion is very important, but it appears to have such a profound and insidious influence over American society that's led to so many unnecessary problems and injustices.
He worded that very well. I'd agree.
Frankly, it just really creeps me out. Here in the UK even the religious people we do have tend not to be that religious. Insane.
I don't mind religious people. I've never been a religious person. I'm not religious in any sense, never have been. But I don't mind religion. You know, if it helps people out in their lives and their church is a big community aspect to their lives. fine. But it's just the way that so many places just want to push it and push it and push it on people and make such a big deal when they don't think they can just, you know, put the 10 Commandments whenever they want. It bothers me.
Medication prices. I've looked it up, and I literally could not afford to exist in America. That is kind of messed up. Most here will be more abstract things, though I would like to add my personal grudge when I am in the USA.
Let's hear
the
it.
food. You can get proper food, but that's expensive. Normal place to eat are just not good. The bread is light and fluffy. Cheese feels and tastes like a chemical substance. Chocolate, it's more like brown sugar, and the beer seems to be watered down. Happy to be home and get my bread at a bakery instead of the Walmart. After spending a semester abroad in the US, it's not your oversized toilets, or your imperial system, or your lack of labor rights. No, it's those freaking LL Bean boots. Jesus Christ, why would anyone wear something this ugly?
Hey! I have LL Bean boots. They're good for hiking.
They're the Fiat multipla of shoes. That's rich, coming from a resident of the country that gave them.
The Fiat multipla of shoes? So is that just like a ugly car? I know what a Fiat is, but that's rich coming from a resident of the country that gave the world Birkenstocks.
World Birkenstocks with socks.
Classic. I won't say it. Classic Subaru lover.
I'm so glad that we don't have absurdly high medical bills. Having lived in both the UK and US, healthcare, frick, give me the NHS any day.
Although there are a lot of repeated claims that they don't like about America, I like it because it shows the ones that people hate most about, the ones that, you know, come up again and again.
I'm lucky enough that I'm able to get a fairly decent insurance plan for a fairly decent price with premium tax credit taking a chunk out of it, but the simple thing is you don't need that in the UK. You just register with your nearest GP and you're set because everything is on the government. There's a lot of doomsaying that the NHS is on the verge of collapse, but seriously, the only reason I'd take US healthcare over UK is because the doctors here are a little less hesitant to give referrals. If it's a dodgy call in the UK, it's a government problem. In the US, it's the insurance company's problem, and that becomes my problem, and for some care I need, I'm happy with that.
Question, guys. Is everyone forced to have healthcare? Like, are you allowed to, like, not have healthcare if you don't want it? Or is everyone forced to pay to the NHS for healthcare? Like, say you're a really healthy individual and you don't have any medical issues, you're very healthy. Do you still have to sign up for the NHS and give taxes? Or I'm sure you have to give taxes.
Gun laws. Okay, in interior Alaska, running into a polar bear or angry moose is sort of legitimate concern, but generally I liked it when I could broadly assume most people didn't carry a pistol round due to them being highly illegal to own. University tuition. I mean, wow. In the UK, the tuition cap going from $3,250 a year to $9,000 a year caused walkouts and protests.
That's cheap for America.
Here it's just accepted as reality. I've seen social media posts where people proudly say this shouldn't change because they personally joined the army to pay their way, and that is not an argument in favor of this.
So I still have student loans, debt, very little because I paid a big sum of it thanks to getting money from YouTube finally. Thank you, YouTube, for the ad money. And I was able to pay a good chunk of it and then go under a plan where I pay about $45 a month for the next, like, 30 years. So, yeah.
Food, EU regulations on additives were nice. I don't think my diet has changed too much, but I've gained like 30 pounds since moving, and getting it to frick back off isn't easy. That's a few things. The views are better here though. Also, I mean, yay snow. In Scotland our uni and college tuition is freebie. I shudder at the
An American would be like, what do you mean? The government's trying to tell me what I can and can't eat. That's communism. Get it out of here.
Scotland, our uni and college tuition is freebie.
Son of a bitch.
I shudder at the stupid level of British politics over the last few years, but US politics takes it down to a whole new level of heck and inanity. Two-party system. Like, we've got...
Does your prime minister tweet a lot like our president? Like, daily? Just about random stuff?
9 part of heck and inanity. Two-party system. Like, we've got 9 parties in our parliament, and though it also sucks, I will take their constant small arguments over 2 parties violating the country and people being afraid of voting for anyone else. Also, electoral college sucks.
Another thing I'm starting to kind of go towards...
For anyone else. Also,
no electoral college, but I'm still not full on board with no electoral college. But I'm no expert on it. I do not like a two-party system because of the reasons here. Because at the end of the day, only a Republican or a Democrat is going to win. You can run as an independent or something, right? As an independent, you're not going to win. You don't have a chance. And so it makes me have to either not vote or vote for the least worst party. And if there were more parties than just 2, there could be too many, I think. I think 9 would be too much. But something like 3, 4, 5 parties, political parties, would be much better than 2, because I can now vote for a party that more has my true values. And so I want to be able to vote for a party that I like rather than just vote for a party that I think is slightly less bad than the other party, you know?
Electoral college sucks. Being pulled over for a broken taillight potentially being your last day on Earth. Being fined or ending up in court for jaywalking. Having to
What do you mean by this?
drive hundreds of
Because you can get shot or something? Being fined or ending up in court for jaywalking. I don't know of anyone who's gotten this. But maybe it has. Having to drive hundreds of miles to vote / register to vote. Not for me. I could probably walk. But again, I live in the the great Northeast metropolitan area from, Washington, D.C. to Boston. And so there's a lot of people here. And I live in a pretty relatively small town. And so I don't have this issue, but I'm sure a lot of other states do.
Miles to vote, register
Larger
to vote. Also, why is skin color, race, political affiliation required on voter registration forms? Why not just name, address, dob?
I don't know.
Healthcare. People die, end up homeless.
I think it's just for people to be able to analyze later, what people of different races voted for who, so that the people on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox can just be like, okay, how are black voters voting, and all this stuff. So I think it's for statistics afterwards, not saying it's right.
Name, address, dob.
So European countries don't ask for what race you are and when you're voting?
Healthcare. People die, end up homeless or in crippling debt because no one can afford preventive healthcare. People rationing medication or putting off health needs until the last minute. It's too late. That's insane.
This is why I think if you don't have to make, even if you don't make everything in healthcare free, at least a yearly or a bi-yearly.
Yeah, I'll react to that.
I'll react to that. Sure, that was my other video. At least make a yearly or a bi-yearly checkup, or 3 or 4 or 5 checkups. Maybe that's a bit much, but 3 a year that should be completely free to see if you need any preventative care. Because a lot of people don't have the money to go in to check for problems they have because they're afraid of the price or afraid of getting on an ambulance, afraid of the price, and then that forces them to have to just wait until they actually become very sick and they're gonna die from it. And so that is so sad. that people have to, that very preventable, eventually deadly diseases could have been prevented if you just didn't have to worry about your wallet when going for a checkup. It's so disgusting.
Imagine how much money the country would actually save if they let people see a doctor for before it become a stay in the IQ. I have two hernia.
Nope. Imagine how much the healthcare companies would lose and hospitals would lose. It's almost like they want you to go to the ICU so they can charge you the big bucks.
Discs in my neck and can't get treatment until I pay $500. I'm a single mom. I don't have $500. That's literally 3/4 of the money I have to make it a whole month after bills. So I just suck it up and try to get my sick little one to understand why mommy can't pick her up right now. The obsession with their flag. Then again, I'm probably riding a wave of oh crap, we've invaded and colonized loads of countries and forced our flag, religion and way of life from them, so probably better not do that anymore, being as I'm from the UK.
Oh crap, we invaded color loads of countries and forced our flag, religion and ways of life on them, so probably better not to do that anymore, being as from the UK. People obsessed with the Union flag or St. flag are generally looked down as being pretty scummy. I don't like that.
People obsessed with
I don't like this part. Yes, you will see, you go down pretty much any street in America and you try and just count all the American flags you'll see. You're not going to be able, you'll run out of count. Like, it's everywhere. And super patriotic, but I don't like that the St. George's flag can't be flown without being seen as like a racist. I don't like that.
the Union flag or St. George's flag here are generally looked down on as being pretty scummy. It's gotten to the—
I don't like that. Being pretty scummy. I really would love people's opinions on this one more than anyone else. You're seen as being scummy for just supporting and being proud of your country, showing a flag. That rubs me the wrong way, but let me know if you disagree.
The point that if I see the English St. George's flag, my first thought is EDL and not just England.
EDL, English Defense League?
And our own flag hasn't got a great reputation in its own.
Is this like a far-right group? But then you shouldn't let a far-right group co-opt the country's flag.
Country was waiting for this.
What is the EDL? Was I right? English Defense League?
The one thing that I always hate about US so much is USA, 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 double quote, especially
USA.
in situations when it's not even relevant to be nationalistic.
True. Just random chants will start like in a bar, no American holiday is around. Just be like, USA, USA.
Houses that break when you punch into the wall once.
Oh, this is classic one I hear a lot, and that compared to Europe, our walls are like paper thin.
Chlorinated chicken. Luckily our welfare standards are good enough to mean we don't get as many horrible germs on our raw meat. Chlorinated what now? I feel blessed every day to have a free school education and free healthcare. I couldn't imagine how it would be like if I would be in debt just because I go to school or broke my leg. You have been visited by the distinguished doggo of delicious delicacies.
Or if like you're a mother or father with a son in critical condition or in dire need to save their beloved son, and then they're saved, and then the doctors are like, so good news is we saved your child. Bad news is that'll be $400,000. Please. So here's the bill.
Comment tasty supper, and be blessed with delectable dishes for the next decade. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.
Great video. Love these videos. I had to cut them into 2 parts just because I was talking so much. Love y'all. Would appreciate any comments down below. Give me your insight and what you think about what was said here. If you disagree with me on what I said, if I got anything wrong. answering any of my questions. Love y'all. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning together. Bye, guys.